Update. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to sign away my rights? Original story. Look, I know it's my choice and I have a right to say no, but right now it feels like the rest of the world doesn't agree. Honestly, I, 26 male, didn't know this woman that well when we first met through a dating site. She was 35, but according to her profile was single, never told me she was married. We went out on a few dates for 4 months until she told me she wasn't interested anymore. I later found out it was because her husband was getting suspicious, and she needed to cut her losses. But a few months after, she contacted me again and told me she was pregnant. It hadn't been that long since we slept together, and she confessed everything. Her husband still didn't know yet, because she wanted to find out who the father was first. We did a prenatal paternity test and confirmed her baby's also mine. She had to tell him after that, and it was a crap show. He wanted to speak to me and called me like crazy. She only got him to leave me alone after telling him I never knew about her being married. We were both lied to by her. They're apparently trying to work things out. But here's the thing. Her husband wants me completely out of the picture and is willing to adopt my baby if I terminate my parental rights. He doesn't want me in their lives at all. And this is his only condition, or is divorcing her and taking their 2 kids. Don't know if he can actually do that, but she's begging me to do this, or it'll completely break their family. Neither of them is considering that this is my child too and I want to be in my child's life. So I said I would not, and it's causing all these problems. She's called several times telling me how badly this is hurting her family, and her kids are hurt and confused because her husband has temporarily moved out until this condition is met. She feels guilty for doing this to them, but says she wants to fix her mistakes and make their marriage work if I could just do this. Plus, to her, it's a sweet deal for me since I won't ever have to raise this baby or be responsible financially. I don't see it that way. I want to be a dad to my son, but it feels like what I want is hurting everyone else, like her kids. My close friends who know all this get I want to do right by my kid, but feel like I should walk away from this messy situation as it'll always be a part of my life if I choose to be involved. And it's possible if her husband is willing to adopt my son after birth, he'll have a good life. Nobody else in my life thinks me being in my son's life is a good idea, and I don't know if it really is such a bad thing. She's due in 2 months, and I don't know what to do. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. Lawyer up. And I'd also suggest maybe asking r/relationships. You have a right to be a part of your child's life, and legal advice will help you go through your options. She lied to you, and in doing so set herself up for a stuffed marriage. She can't use that as an excuse to ostracize you out of your child's life. Maybe also r/legal. She's the one that broke up her family, not you. She needs to deal with her actions. And in all honesty, the husband may never forgive her and take his resentment out on the baby. Start documentation of text and voicemails, and never answer calls or texts. A lawyer could potentially show them harassing you and possibly the start of parental alienation. She called me several times telling me how badly this is hurting her family. Excuse me? But she did this to herself. Not a hole. Especially considering all she had to do not to have this blow up in her face was keep quiet. Wife to OP. I want to break up. This isn't working out. Wife to husband. Honey, we're pregnant. And that's it. By seeking a paternity test, she literally doubled down on forgoing the situation, which she created by cheating in the first place. Not a hole, because as bad as all this is, you are only responsible for that child. You didn't lie. You weren't cheating and you have rights. How will you feel if that marriage breaks up anyway, and husband resents your son and you can do nothing to help? You're not responsible for her marriage or her family. She is. You're responsible for your child, and only you can discern what's right in that regard. Not a hole. And now for the update. It's been a while since I posted this, and a lot has happened since then. And by a lot, I mean I finally became a dad. My son is healthy and beautiful. The most beautiful baby I've ever seen. One of the best things to ever happen to me, honestly, despite the drama. Thank you everyone who was helpful and encouraging in this situation. It felt good to know even with what everyone else was saying, I had a right to say no to my ex's demands, and that I'm not the one at fault for what happened. Several of you had suggested I talk to her about switching it around, so that I could ask about getting full custody instead of being cut out if her husband had such a problem with me being around. It was such a great idea, and I feel pretty stupid for not thinking about it myself. So here's what happened. I decided to try again and contact her husband, because throughout this whole time he was refusing to speak to me. But I just wanted to see if I could get through to him as a last resort. He agreed for us to talk, and I was shocked to find out he'd actually changed his mind about accepting the baby 2 months ago, before I made a post. Originally, he did have that condition that he'd only take her back and adopt my son if I wasn't in the picture, but decided he didn't want to raise another man's baby. So she lied to me about him still having this condition, and this was just her attempt to try to fix everything, even though he was planning on going through with a divorce. He was pretty mad about what she was doing too, so he was kind of on my side about it. Did get a lawyer involved, and had another talk with her as well after he spoke to her, pretty much saying he'd never take her back no matter what she did at this point. That got her see that trying to keep me out wasn't going to do anything. I brought up the full custody thing to see if that was something she wanted, and she agreed. To her, there was no point in having my son full-time with this whole divorce going on, and she doesn't even have her own place. He moved back into their house with the kids, and she ended up leaving. Going through with my attorney, I was able to establish paternity after my son was born, so that I'd be legally recognized as his father instead of her soon-to-be ex. As of right now, he's with me full-time, but she still comes by to visit. Her life is a total mess right now with a divorce, and she's still pretty bitter towards me about it. It's not perfect, but I'm just so happy having my son in my life. Holding him for the first time, it's made all the struggles worth it. It's definitely overwhelming doing it mostly on my own, but I don't regret how things played out. So thanks for the support and advice. It really helped make a difference when I couldn't see a way out of this without feeling like I was doing something wrong. Well done, and congrats. I definitely wouldn't want my child being raised by that woman. She's bitter at you even though it's entirely her fault? Is she paying you alimonies? She's paying child support, yes. I've learned to not take any blame that isn't mine to carry, so that makes it easier when she tries to act like everything happened right now is my fault. You sound like you're going to be an amazing dad. Sorry, make that you are an amazing dad. Your little boy's lucky to have you permanently in his life and is going to thrive with you. Good luck for the future. Parenting is a wonderful privilege and is tough at times, but worth every tear and every sleepless night. Congrats, Dad. Enjoy. Raising a child is one of life's joys. Sending you best wishes from another dad who isn't with a mother. Thanks. Hasn't been easy. My little man makes it worth it, though. Has brought so much into my life. One small point after, well done obviously, is try to stay on good enough terms with the husband if you can. Nothing big, but maybe Facebook friends. Your little guy will have questions and deserves to know his siblings when he grows, and I've found being open and having lines of communication open, even if not used, helps a lot. Well done. This girl is crazy. Being bitter at you when she's the one who cheated on her husband? The absolute nerve of her. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not wanting to be an emotional support to my kid's mother? Little backstory. I was going through it after a rough breakup a few years back, and just sort of living my life, dating multiple people, partying, trying to cope. I ended up meeting a girl who I was initially not interested in, but who pursued me so relentlessly that I decided to give her a chance. I ended up really liking her, but it seemed like as soon as I became invested, all of her interest disappeared. Then after catching her talking to an ex behind my back twice, I broke it off. About a month later, she found out she was pregnant with twins, and they were mine. We talked about it and decided to keep them. Over the course of the pregnancy, spending all the time together, going to appointments and such, I fell deeply in love with her. Shortly after my daughters were born, I asked her if she'd like to try to make things work between us, and she said yes. I was ecstatic. It was good for about a week, and then she started treating me horribly, just being very mean to me, constantly making excuses to prevent me from coming to see her and the girls, excluding me from events. A month of this, and I couldn't take it anymore. I asked if she really wanted to be with me, and she said no, that she had no romantic feelings for me and wanted to break up. It hurt worse than any previous rejections in my life probably, but I'm not going to force anyone to love me, and we have children together who I love, so I got through it. Fast forward 3 years and I'm as over the breakup as I can be. We get along fine and co-parent well and everything is good. I'm happy being single for the first time in my life, and I may be happier than I have ever been before. My problem is that, anytime anything happens in her life, she immediately comes to me for emotional support. An argument with her parents, problems at work, her sister being diagnosed with diabetes, her car having issues, just anything really. I feel like an a-hole because although we have kids and I have moved on, it still feels exactly what it is. An ex who broke my heart expecting me to be a shoulder to cry on, and it freaking sucks. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to interact in this way outside of our co-parenting? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She's your ex. And you aren't her emotional support punching bag. You need to set boundaries. Also, if you haven't yet, I may recommend looking into paternity tests to make sure the kids are yours. Great idea about the paternity test. Once OP begins setting boundaries, it will unfortunately be worse before becoming better. So OP needs to be proactive in protecting his rights, and himself, regardless of the results. I should clarify, I know they are mine. I also don't necessarily think it will cause an issue other than hurting her feelings. I just didn't want to set this boundary and hurt her feelings if I was being unreasonable. Not an a-hole. You have long broken up and established a good co-parenting relationship. You can start without even saying anything. Just put some distance in your conversations. 1. If she calls and starts complaining, say, "Sorry, I'm busy," but answered because I thought it was about the twins. Since it isn't, I have to get back to X. 2. Start cutting conversations short. Have to go, got another call, have a place to be. 3. Don't respond to every text message that isn't about kids. Just leave some alone. 4. If you get caught listening to her, keep input brief. Oh wow, that's a lot. And that's tough. Don't be helpful or give her attention. Putting distance and setting boundaries usually helps. If not, you can then escalate to, "I don't think I'm the right person to talk to about this." Since you have established a good relationship, I think the more passive approach of stepping back in small ways is the good place to start. This is my favorite bit of advice I have gotten so far. I try to respond to her usually because I don't want to be rude. I think just not answering all the time is a really good sounding solution, considering we aren't together and I don't have to offer an explanation for why I didn't answer. And if she asks and I say I was busy, she can't be upset. I truly appreciate this. It seems so simple I almost feel dumb for making a Reddit post about it. But outside input helps to make things clear sometimes, I suppose. It's not dumb. You have a problem to solve, and that makes it seem like you have to actively engage the other person. I totally get this. My advice is from years of being the listener, and I had people I really cherished that I also needed to be like, "Girl, you're never leaving him. I can't listen anymore." I realized I didn't have to have the conversation. I could just not be the listener anymore. Just reconfigures the relationship. And I'd say 8 out of 10 times it does the charm. One person won't take the hint, the other will be offended, but all other times, no confrontation necessary. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for being blunt when my sister-in-law was looking for our opinions on things with her foster kid? I'm a former foster kid who had a horrible experience being a foster kid. Never found a family. Ended up in group care once they traumatized me too much for another family. It was rough. My husband's family know about my past. And when my sister-in-law and her husband realized recently that their foster kid was not settling in and it wasn't the picture-perfect experience they wanted, they included me in the discussion with their family. Parents, my husband, another sister, another brother. And they wanted to hear what they thought of the situation. It was a weird conversation. My husband stayed out of it. But they said of course she'll come around. Of course they're the perfect family for her, etc. Then sister-in-law asked me directly. I asked her if she truly wanted my honest opinion, and she said yes. So I told her not every foster placement is a good fit. Not every foster kid will settle in the way they were looking for, and some won't settle in at all. That there is a chance they won't work out, and they need to ask themselves if it's going to work or not. Her husband told me that I couldn't say that for sure. That kids need a family and they can provide her with that, so why wouldn't she settle in? I told him that with what she's been through, what they told us about, there is a chance she will find it hard to settle into any family. But also, she might need something else. That they need to be honest with a caseworker instead of saying everything is perfect because maybe different resources could be provided. They got really upset with what I said. They told me eventually she'll get better and accept them. I told them not to ask for my opinion if they don't want to hear it, and that they were thinking about things wrong. They need to ask themselves if they can provide what she actually needs, not what they think she needs. For more info, their foster daughter is 13. She's been with them 14 months. and she's had some pretty horrible experiences of the foster system. It's also known she has attachment issues and anger because she's been in the system her whole life. They don't seem to be able to wrap their heads around the fact she's not super happy to be there by now, that she's not warming up to them in the obvious ways. My sister-in-law told me I was being an A, and that I didn't need to be so negative and dismissive of them. They said I didn't know what I was talking about. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. They asked for your advice based on your similar upbringing and gave it. While they might not have liked the answer, you were certainly not an A about it. Just how people react when they hear something they don't want to. Hope the kid and parents start getting along better. This child should be in therapy, and if they truly want it to work as much as they say, they should also be in family therapy so they can better understand how she feels and what she needs, and be reminded that their wants do not outweigh the child's needs. Not the a-hole. They ask for an honest opinion and can't deal with it. Also, they are doubly the a-hole for implying you don't know what you're talking about. If this is their mindset, it might be why the foster child isn't settling in. Such a thing you can't force. Not the a-hole, but you should realize that your message to them sounded like, "Give her back, it's not going to happen." I don't think that's what you intended. However, I do think your own experience is coloring how you view the situation as much as their rose-colored glasses are coloring theirs. They should be honest with their caseworker, and they shouldn't have gotten upset with you. But I doubt they would have agreed to foster a teenager if they were truly expecting perfection. I mean, I think they need to look at things and decide what's best here. They are growing frustrated with her not getting closer to them, with no real change in the relationship over the last year. She's unhappy and she reminds me a lot of me when I got to her age. I just don't think they realized how different it is with a teenager, and went in with this idyllic idea that isn't the most realistic with a teen.